Recently, I posted a reel on Instagram that actually made me laugh too. And it made me think about this a different way. So this reel showed people out walking their dogs, training their dogs, going through an agility course with their dogs. Only there was no dog. No dog. Just people with leashes, collars, hand signals, full commitment, going over these obstacles. And they were even naming the dogs and buying fancy collars, calling out commands. I guess the whole trend is called hobby dogging. And while I watched it, I thought, this is exactly what I see in so many struggling kids and teens. A leash, a collar, a lot of energy, but no time from kids, especially if they're neurodivergent. I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna buy a new truck. Me and my buddy are gonna take a road trip. I'm moving to Hawaii soon. Big dreams, big declarations, but they're still asking you for gas money to get to work this week. Maybe they can't keep a job. They aren't finishing their homework, or maybe if they finish their homework, they don't turn it in. They might not even finish school. They can't follow through with basic responsibilities. A to-do list, no, not happening. And parents are thinking, what do I do? Am I being played? And is this entitlement? Is this all attitude? Let me say this very clearly. This is not attitude. It's not laziness. And it's really not manipulation. It's lags in their executive functioning. And when you see it as a brain problem or a brain lag, then we know we have to catch them up to speed before their dreams can become reality, or if they can even see if their dreams. It's an important distinction. Not all kids are like this. Some kids genuinely don't want much. They're content living in your house, playing video games forever, as long as you pay the bills. And that's a different conversation. But today I'm talking about kids that have really big dreams. When you ask them what they want to do, and this can start pretty young, and when they're young, that's kind of normal. And a normal kid is going to want to be an astronaut, or want to be the president, or a football player, or a rap star, all of those things. But when they get to be teens, the reality of being an artist or going on that road trip, it's big, but they don't have a bridge to get there. And it's not that they're lacking imagination. We don't want them to lack imagination. And they have vision, maybe, not the vision you want for their life, but they have some vision. But what they are lacking is the scaffolding. They have the leash and they have no dog. So here's what's happening in the brain. Executive functioning is the part of Executive functioning is the part of the brain that handles the planning, the sequencing, the task initiation, taking the initiation to do something. It is executive functioning that gives follow through, that helps to have delayed gratification. And dreams live in the future brain. In fact, I call this future faking with kids. But daily tasks live in the now brain. And kids with ADHD, kids that are neurodivergent, they tend to live in the now. And so in the now, this future, it doesn't even seem like the future. It's this is what I want to do right now. Maybe they're listening to a song that they really like, and they're like, that's what I want to do. I'm going to write songs like that. And it's in the right now. But right now, they also don't see that it's something they have to attain or get to. So these kids, a lot of times it's even trauma impacted kids, emotionally distressed kids. The bridge between now and later is very, very weak. and it's missing. And so being a rap star, that sounds really attainable, but doing their homework, that feels impossible. And it's not because they're overly dramatic, but it's because homework requires that feeling of boredom and effort without seeing any gain in it. Doing my homework isn't going to help me be a rap star. Not going to help me buy my truck in their minds. Like, they can't see that. There's delayed reward, and there's, in a sense, emotional risk. Dreams give them that dopamine hit when they think about, like, that's what I'm going to do. And they, I know one kid that would, like, he wouldn't exercise at all. And then when he decided he's going to exercise, like, totally burn themselves out in the gym. And then they can't move, for a couple of days. And yet they don't see any gains, so they just quit. And we all have tendencies like that. It's just they don't have any way to regulate it. So dreams can feel safe. Sometimes kids will say something that seems really safe. I knew another kid that whenever somebody would ask him what he wanted to be, he would just say, I'm going to be a police officer. It was such an easy answer because everybody knows what that is. They don't really ask a lot of other questions. He had no intention of ever being a police officer. He didn't physically not intending to do that, didn't really like guns, didn't, all of it. Like, it just wasn't, when we talked about it, he's like, well, that's just what I say. Okay, it made sense. These kind of dreams, they don't demand anything today because they know it's like, it's just out there somewhere. But this is where parents can fall into a trap because we say things like, that's unrealistic, that's not going to happen, you need to be practical, you can't even get out of bed, you can't sing, like, what are you thinking? And I get it. It's scary, right? And it's frustrating. And you're trying to maybe protect them from disappointment or protect yourself because, like, you don't want to have to support this kid for the rest of their life. Maybe, I don't know. But here's what kids hear. They're just hearing, you don't believe in me. You think I'm ridiculous. You don't see me. You never support my dreams. And it's very hard for them to understand that the practical things you're saying, that they make sense. Like, you really like working on cars, but you don't really like to get your hands dirty. You could get a job at O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and you could be on the computer and tell people about their parts. But in light of their dream of being a NASCAR mechanic, that you're holding them back. So this shame kind of shuts down the motivation, and it's not because you're doing something wrong, but inadvertently we tend to kill the dream, and we don't really create realism in doing it. It just is a disconnect. We still haven't bridged it. It's like bringing them to reality of not being able to be the rap star that they want to be or the football player that they want to be when they've never played football is a gap that they can't see, and then they're disconnected, and we haven't really helped them to see what they can do. So here's the reframe. We don't kill the dream, we build the ladder. And dreams get to stay on the top, and then we start to build the rungs, or I like to use steps. We build the steps. And because a leash without a dog doesn't mean that the leash is bad. It doesn't mean that preparing and having the collar and the leash are bad. It's just no one's gotten the dog yet. And it might be some steps to get the dog. So that's where we have to work from. We're not saying, like, you can never have a dog because you think that just having a leash is okay. But we have to go back and approach it differently. You want to be famous? Cool. Let's talk about showing up on time. You want to get a truck? Great. We need to talk about budgeting and consistent work and how can I help you and support you. And you want independence? That's going to take responsibility and reliability. The same thing with freedom. You're going to have freedom and responsibility together. We don't ask them to climb the whole ladder, but it's great to actually visually put that up here. Like, this is what you want? Great. Let's talk about how we get there. And sometimes we go, like, what do you think would be the last thing that would happen before you got famous? Like, and then what, and we go down. And don't be scared, because it doesn't mean that they're going to be like, okay, my mom said I can do this, and so I'm going to do it. There's a lot of steps there. The first step might be that they have to finish high school. And so, okay, what are the steps to finish high school? Like, what are we going to do? How do we do that? Do you want to take some music lessons? Do you want, and you start adding some things in there, and you don't be scared. Don't be afraid to go there with them and break it down, and not make it impossible every step, but just showing them the next rung and the next rung. And remember that rung, those bottom rungs are boring. They're actually boring all the way through and hard, but they're also very small. And that's the only way to go up, is to really do each thing. And it's unglamorous. And so here's the thing, is that every single rung, every single step is going to need reinforcement. Not bribes, not lectures, not feedback loops that are like, well, you're never going to go to school or have your own business or get that truck if you don't save your money. That isn't going to help. It's just showing them, like, remember, like, this is what we're working on. But maybe you want to change this dream, or maybe that's not what you really want. And that's okay, because we still are working on this one. We still have to turn in our homework. And we have to help them to get reinforcement, because if they could just do it, they would. So you're not lowering the standards, you're lowering the step size. And that's leadership. You're making it somehow attainable to turn their homework in, because they can't see any connection between turning their homework in and wanting to have their own business or to be really rich or famous. And so you have to help them to see that those are the steps, but not so much for the future, but just to get through this step. Like, this is the first step. We have to get really good at this step. So if you're parenting a kid with big dreams and zero follow through, please hear this. Dreams without steps are not rebellion. It's actually their nervous system, their brain, that needs help. And your job is not to just, bring them, crush them, and bring them back down to reality. It's to help them to build the structure. And in building the structure, they start to see, and that dream may really change. And, our goal is not to have them give up and just think, well, I can't do anything then. You're saying I can't do anything. We're not shaming the dream, but we're training the skills. And we're saying, no, you can totally do this. But in order to do this, you've got to do everything else. You can't get to Z until you start at A and get through these things. And it may seem too daunting for them. And that may be why they picked that dream in the first place, because it was unattainable and it's just out there and there's no responsibility to it. So we're not walking the leash alone. We're not just buying collars and naming dogs that we don't have. We're actually working on how we get the dog. Thank you for listening. Hope this helps.